All for Geek Alliance presents Narration Fixation number 12, Reading for the Blind with Edoardo Camponeschi. Welcome, Edo. Why don't you tell us how you got started narrating audiobooks?
Hey there, thank you for having me. Well, it all started, I think it was December 2012, actually 2011, sorry. Well, the thing that I should probably mention is that I'm a stage actor. That's how I started this career in, entertainment, I guess.
That seems to be
I
pretty
used to work.
common.
Sorry?
A lot of actors seem to move into this field.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm going to tell you why at this point. Because, well, there's not a lot of work in the theater, or at least in my country, Italy. I mean, apart from it being quite hard to land a proper gig in the theater, it's usually, not paid well enough. I know that, for example, in the States, you have unions and stuff, so it's probably a lot easier to be a stage actor, or I don't know, I'm just guessing here, but...
Probably no. In some areas, probably. Like, I'm sure New York and California, it's easier, but...
Yeah, I'm thinking, like LA, because there's a huge industry, right? So at one point I was quite bored because there wasn't a lot of work going on in the theater. And so I just bought a USB microphone. And I met this guy on the internet who's a writer. He writes short stories. So we decided, hey, let's get together in this. You write short stories, I'll read them, and then we'll open a YouTube channel, and we're going to publish them there. So that's how it started. And if I go back and listen to those things that I recorded like almost 3 years ago, it's chilling right now because they were so bad. But yeah, you asked how it started, and yes, that's how it started.
So when did you get started reading for the blind?
That happened less than, well, to be honest, I started narrating for myself and for the YouTube channel in December 2011, and I started working for the blind in, for the Italian Union for the Blind and the Visually Impaired. That's the official name. I started working for them in October 2012, so it was almost 1 year after that. But I actually started pestering them in June 2012, because I went there with a CD with my very first audiobook that I did, which was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in Italian. And I just knocked on their door and told them, hello, I'm a young narrator in the making, and I was wondering whether you were looking for more narrators for here. At first, I thought it was just something, that I could do at home and give them the stuff. I didn't think it was like a paid gig, but apparently it was. They took me in. They said, okay, you're going to audition for us. So I went in their studio, which is actually really close to where I live, so that was really convenient. And I just recorded a few things, and they told me, we're going to let you know. Thing is, I kept calling them once a week for like 3 months until they eventually caved, I guess. I don't know, but you know how bureaucracy tends to be, especially in a country like mine. I keep going back to that, but in the end, they surprised me because they said, okay, come in, come in at 11 tomorrow. And I thought, right, maybe they want to talk to me or something. But I went in, and they were like, here, have this book, read it. And so that's how I started. And things just picked up from there.
Just, wow.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So are there any particular differences in reading that you've noticed for reading for the blind versus reading for audiobooks for Audible or yourself or LibriVox or anything like that?
Yes, indeed. You know what? I'm going to start with the Audible thing because that's probably what most people know about. And in my experience, I've noticed that authors mostly ask for, lots of different voices for all the different characters, and maybe different accents,
Right.
either, just for the nationality of the characters or in general. They want the characters to sound as differently as possible from each other, and it makes sense. So I noticed that for American or Audible audiobooks in general, so for an English-speaking public, um, it's a huge bonus if you can recreate different kinds of voices and characters and, ages and genders and stuff. Whereas audiobooks for the blind and visually impaired, I've been told, and that's what I do because that's what I've been told, that they want the narration to be as neutral as possible. Uh, because apparently a blind person who listens to an audiobook likes to imagine the voice instead of hearing it. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all here. So it shouldn't be, as detailed and colorful and rich as an Audible audiobook, for example, where, the distinctions
Right.
between the voices are very important. They want them to be more neutral, not to the point that it gets boring, of course, because the narration still has to be, exciting. And of course, it depends on what kind of book you're reading. But if it's a novel with different characters, it has to be different, even though it's quite neutral in tone, than, say, a textbook for some school subject or something. But
Right.
yeah, just in my experience, I've done some books in for Audible where, for example, there were some Russian characters. So I would end up talking like this, for example, and with a very strong Russian accent. And this is something that they don't want there, the Union for the Blind, because they prefer to have a neutral narration so they can kind of fill in the blanks, I would say, by themselves.
Oh, that's cool. Now, I've heard there's some narrators here in the U.S. are trying to get people to consider that the flatter type of storytelling.
It kind
Yeah,
of
all the authors that I see asking for stuff are asking for all of those things.
are they now? That's interesting, actually.
So you said you've got 10 books in English on Audible?
11, actually.
11.
Yeah, 11 and
Now, what
one
kind of
more
feedback do
in
you get
Italian.
from? Right.
Uh,
So, what kind of feedback do you get
Not a
from
whole
American
lot.
audiences about? No.
There are a few reviews, not a lot actually, but the ones that I did get, well, first of all, I started by narrating books with Italian characters or European characters because you can probably tell that I'm not a native English speaker. So
But you
sometimes.
sound good and listenable, so it's not a very strong accent. So.
Thank you. Yeah, but I guess that sometimes some authors look for perfect diction, I guess, which is something that I don't always have, not being my native language, But so
Right.
that's how I started with, books that maybe take place in Italy or in Europe. So an accent like mine is considered exotic, so to speak. Not quite
Right.
exotic, 'cause, I mean, it's European, but different. Um, so that's the kind of feedback that I got. That usually this kind of voice and accent, especially with, say, books with Italian characters. One of them in particular that comes to mind is the story of a famous Italian outlaw of the 19th century. And the review said that my voice and my accent was perfect for those parts in the book where there was dialogue between the characters. It was kind of a history book, telling dates and stuff and what happened and where it happened. But the author also recreated dialogues between, for example, the outlaw and the judge when he was finally caught. So I played that as if it was, a theater script. and it worked well in
Oh,
contrast with the
okay.
neutral narration. And that's the one review that particularly sticks to mind. And to be honest, there haven't been too many yet. I'm hoping there will be, but you know.
That seems to be a common problem. Is that people, whatever sales you get, you still don't get people to review you or leave leave constructive criticism or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Up to the point where you actually have to offer copies of the book. Uh, Lots of authors do that, especially because ACX being the platform for Audible to produce audiobooks. You probably know
Right.
about that.
Yes, I have some
Like it
material on there.
gives. Sorry.
Right.
So yeah, ACX gives authors a bunch of codes that they can give out to people so that they can get a free copy of the book. And that helps a lot when it comes to marketing your own book. But, you know, just a random person buying the audiobook, uh, not all of them leave a review, actually. I don't know why. I guess it depends on the person. You know, if they're the kind of person who, if they like something, then they'll compliment you about it. I tend to get a lot of reviews on my YouTube channel for my Italian videos. I get a lot of those, but that's all free stuff, so it's, you know, a whole other domain, I guess. But as
Right.
you said on Audible, they tend to be a bit rare sometimes.
So, do you do much English work on your YouTube channel?
Actually, my YouTube channel is just Italian stuff.
Okay.
It's I kind of have a mission here because you know audiobooks in Italian or in Italy in general aren't too popular, like I would say at all. I had a chat with a few publishers who produce audiobooks here in Italy when I was looking for work, and there's pretty much just three of them, three main publishers in Italy, which is like an incredibly small number if you think about it. And those three publishers told me that they didn't have the budget to hire another narrator because they could only produce between 12 and 15 audiobooks per year. So that's something like between 36 and 45 or 50 tops. So we
Right.
don't offer a lot of audiobooks. So what I'm trying to do is, um, you know, just produce a lot of audiobooks, even audiobooks. Like I recorded the longest one that I did in Italian was The Picture of Dorian Gray, which was I think over 10 hours, and
Wow.
Frankenstein as well, which was fairly long. So and they give them away for free. They're on my website, so trying to get them to make them become more popular like this. There's a lot of feedback on YouTube, and I have quite an audience that keeps growing. And it's nice, you know, to wake up in the morning and check your email and see that somebody commented on your video and thanking you for your work, and that they really enjoyed the narration, or that they got, you know, kind of scared for the narration of a Lovecraft short story or Edgar Allan Poe. Uh, you know, it's fulfilling, I guess.
So you can get Italian translations of those texts. You don't have to do the translation yourself.
There's lots of them online because people actually read a lot here. So, and especially those
Right.
authors and books that are in the public domain now, because I can only do those, you know, for copyright reasons. There's lots of them, especially, you know, like on Project Gutenberg and stuff. You can find them there too. Or,
And the
uh,
translations are in the public domain.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Well, at least the ones that say that they are, then yes. If you buy a book in a bookstore and you read that, I guess you would probably get in trouble. But I guess there's kind of a thin line about what you find on the internet, and if it's not, you know, explicitly said or written below a translation that it's in the public domain. But so far, I haven't had any trouble with it, and I've been very careful about it,
Okay.
though. I wouldn't want
Well, Project
anyone,
Gutenberg is
you
really
know,
good
on my
about doing
back.
all that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, is there anything you want to say to your Italian audience in Italian right now? So, since everything's been in English.
Definitely. Definitely, yeah, because, this is probably the first time that they even see my face. In the past 3 years, they've only listened to my voice. I've never shown myself before. So I will take a few seconds to say something, and then I can probably translate it for you as well. Just to send a message to those people who follow me. So, grazie a tutti per il supporto che avete dimostrato negli ultimi anni, a partire da, come dicevo prima, dal dicembre del 2011, quando iniziavo a narrare racconti brevissimi scritti dal mio socio di allora Fabio, e per avermi seguito nella produzione di libri completi, racconti di Poe, racconti di Lovecraft che piacciono tantissimo. Sto continuando a produrre, finirò molto presto La casa sull'abisso che state aspettando in molti e nient'altro, continuate a seguirmi e grazie ancora. That's it. I took, just a few seconds. You probably heard the word grazie a lot, which means thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the point of the message. Yeah.
So, for your YouTube channel, you said you don't show your face. What do you show there? What kind of images or video do you put on there to go with your stories?
It's mostly just, the voiceover, then some music, unless it's a full-length audiobook, in which case I tend not to put the music because it could be distracting. But if it's a full-length audiobook that I publish, in episodes, like each chapter is a video, then I simply put the cover of the book that I designed as the background image. Or if it's a short story, I try to find on the internet a fitting image for that particular story. Like the one that I did was the Black Cat, which is probably my most famous video on YouTube. And there's simply a cat with. Actually, it's a bit different. It's like a black background, and there's the face of a cat who's missing one eye. Because, the Black Cat by Poe was missing one eye. So there's just this yellow eye staring at you in the middle of the screen, and it's fairly cool, I think. But yeah, it's mostly just, background pictures and stuff.
Okay. So you said you worked with one author to start with. Are you working with more authors now?
Yes, a few of them. The one author that I started working with is Thomas Kirkwood, and we produced 5 books together. And I'm actually not ashamed to say at all that if I didn't meet him, then I probably wouldn't be doing this right now, because he's the first author who actually showed a lot of trust in me and my possibilities and in my skills as a narrator. And so, of course, when you start, and that was my very first English audiobook. It was called Save Italy, Forget the Rest. It's kind of a spy story that takes place in Italy. It's very, very entertaining, actually. There's like the Italian counterpart of James Bond, and his name is Dante Passoni. Well, that's just part of the plot. Anyway, I saw on ACX, this is actually kind of a funny story. I already had sent like lots of auditions before that, and I got turned down a lot. And then I later found out that that happens all the time anyway. But, I was kind of feeling like maybe I should give up, and focus on the Italian narration. But then at one point I saw this post for this book, Save Italy. And it was a paid gig. It required an Italian accent. It took place in Florence and Rome and Venice. And at first I thought, what's the point in even trying, But then after a few days, I kept going on ACX, and that post was still there. kind of taunting me because I was expecting that post to disappear, thinking that the author would have found someone else by then.
Right.
And like the third day that it was still there, I was like, fine, I'll do it. I'll send a demo to this person. And well, he liked it. And I could say the rest is history pretty much, but it was a long process because he really liked that book, and Thomas Kirkwood, who I now call Uncle Tommy, if you can believe that, because we've grown very close. He was very patient with me at first because, I've improved a lot in the past year. This happened in July 2013, so it's pretty much exactly 1 year ago. And he was very patient with me because, as I said, I've improved in the past 13 months. But at first, my pronunciation wasn't perfect. It's not perfect now, but it was worse back then. So, he took the time to send me like corrections and stuff and told me how to pronounce some words correctly and so on. And because he liked a lot the way that I was narrating his book and how I was portraying his characters. So he thought that would have, gone past the pronunciation issues. And so we worked together for that first book. And then after the summer, I did another one for him, which was called The Puppy Broker, with another Italian character. And then we did another one called The Trade, another one called The Svalbard Passage, and another one which I can't remember. Oh, Lacking Virtues. That was the last one. So yeah, almost half of the books I did were produced with him. So did a lot of stuff with him. And so now sorry?
Is he still writing?
Oh, yes. We kind of finished his books that he had already written, but he's working on another novel, he said, and it will probably be done by 2015, he said. So we email each other quite a lot, so we talk about this stuff, and he told me recently that, yeah, he was working on another novel, and that he was planning to hire me again for it.
So, okay. Is he including Italian characters because he's hiring you, or just he's happened to have Italian characters several times?
Well, you mean for his past books?
Yes. Or the next one?
Oh, for this next one, I'm not quite sure about that because we didn't talk too much about it because he didn't want to disclose any details about it yet.
Right.
But for his past books, he had lots of European and Italian characters because he actually lived in Italy for a long time. After he told me that he sold the rights for one of his books because it was supposed to be turned into a movie, but then apparently it didn't go through. But still, with the money that he made selling the rights for this movie, he managed to actually move to Italy and live here for quite a few years. And so he got the inspiration to write all of those books.
Oh, okay. So what are some of your current projects that you can talk about?
Well, right now I'm working on a book which is, it's called La Casa sull'Abisso, which is the House on the Borderland, which is a horror book, a horror novel actually, and that's going to go on YouTube and my website. I'm not currently working on any English audiobooks, but I'm working on a fantasy audiobook for the Union for the Blind. It's called The Mists of Avalon, and apparently it's a fairly famous fantasy book, which I didn't know about. Yes. And apparently I became their resident fantasy reader. I did the entire Aragon saga, the boy with the dragon, and then I did a few books of the Game of Thrones series as well in Italian for them, and then I did World War Z, all of those weird kind of sci-fi or fantasy books they give to me, because probably I don't know, I guess a younger voice works better for those. I'm not really sure. Well, I'm just happy that I get to do them.
Mists of Avalon probably has a lot of female characters.
Yes, exactly. It has, well, if you think about it, like one of the main characters is, well, I know her Italian name, I don't know her English name. Arthur's sister.
Oh,
Well, in Italian it's Morgana. I don't know what her
Morgana,
English
yeah.
name is. Is it's the same?
It's either,
All right,
well,
so
there's like three variations of it that it could be in English. So Morgana, people would know who Morgana is.
okay. So yeah, it's mostly about her, but the thing is that there's lots of, strong men, kings and monarchs and princes and dukes and stuff. So it's fairly balanced, I guess.
Okay.
So,
So right now that's the only project you're working on?
oh, yes, well, that one for my YouTube channel,
Oh,
and
right. And that, the one
and
for the blog.
also I'm actually I kind of expanded my little studio here because you can see it now. There's
You've got
all
all
of
that
this fancy
audio foam.
padding behind me. Yeah, at first it was just just a small microphone in the computer, and now I've actually built a computer specifically for this, which is in the room next to this one. So there's no fan noise or computer noise or anything. Um, and then I actually recorded lots of my books with a standard USB mic, which is called the Blue Yeti, which is apparently quite common
I have the
in
blue
this.
snowball.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I had the Yeti, which served me well for pretty much almost all of my audiobooks. And then recently I bought, you can see it here, this one right here. It's a Rode mic,
Oh,
and
right.
yeah, and this was quite a bit expensive, and it's plugged into this mixer right here. So you see,
Okay. Yep.
you kind of can, yeah. So it's quite, I moved a bit more to a more professional setup, and this actually allowed me to expand, as I said, and I'm also looking for a female narrator because now I can have somebody reading here while I'll be on the outside in the other room, taking care of all the technical stuff. So I have one person reading is it called The Little Prince in English? I don't know if it's that famous
I think so.
in The Little Prince, I guess.
Machiavelli?
Well, this, no, that's just The Prince.
The
It's a
Prince, right.
French
The
book.
Little Prince.
Yeah, The Little Prince. Yeah. And a friend of mine is reading that right now, so it's kind of an experiment, in because I'm hoping to kind of hire a female narrator as well to expand the business, you could say. So I'm kind of in this limbo right now. I'm finishing my project, but I'm also trying to move ahead in other directions.
Very good.
Yeah.
Any other plans for the future that you want to talk about?
I don't. That's an interesting question. I wouldn't know. What I'm trying to. Well, obviously, I do have one main objective that I'm actually trying to obtain, possibly by the end of the year, which is to become an Audible approved producer. And to do
I think
that,
you have to have 25 works, don't you?
exactly. So I'm halfway there, and it took me approximately 12 months to get there. So I'm hopefully hoping that, by the end of 2015, I can become an approved producer, because that's going to help a lot in terms of, finding other gigs and stuff. So I guess that for now, my short-term goals would be find a female narrator to work with, and keep producing more books that I'm going to publish for free, because I want, as I said, to make audiobooks more popular in Italy. And in the meantime, if I can find some more gigs on ACX, I'd be happy, because that's mostly what pays the bills.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me today here on Narration Fixation.
Thank you for having me.
So if you're still watching, here on the Alpha Geek Alliance, we also have the Plot Again with Daniel Wallace, who is also in Europe. He lives in Germany. And we also have Trainer Jody should be coming out with new episodes of Lore Explorer and D&D High, so keep a watch out for those. All right, then.